Greetings, boys and girls. It's me, Chase, again, and I am here to refute a common lie which is hurled against Christ. You can hear this lie propounded by men such as, I believe is a doctorate degree, but Mr. Ehrman, who went to Moody Bible Institute, then went to Wheaton, and then to Princeton, I believe. And I don't know why he studied that Bible so much, but he's just confused about something, and I want to give him some clarity, and other people on Facebook who say that Christ lied, that he was, or at least he was wrong, and I've read a secular history about Jesus, and they use this verse to show that he was delusional, to say the least. He actually believed the things he said, but they didn't come to pass. They didn't come to pass, so therefore we ought not trust him. Right? I'm going to deal with that today. The passage under fire is from the last verse of Matthew chapter 16. And it says this, Jesus speaking here, "Truly I say to you, there are some of those who are standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." And people say, well, look, unless some of those apostles, or at least some of them, unless they're still living and are going to continue living until the day Christ returns, then this is obvious a lie. I mean, this is just obviously a lie. But they're wrong. And these people prove that they don't love the truth. If they love the truth, they would seek it out with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength. And I don't think you have to seek too hard for the answer when it's in the next 3 verses. If they would read within the next 3 verses in the book of Matthew, they would find their answer, which is this. Matthew chapter 17, verse 1. 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John his brother, and led them up on a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his garments became as white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 tabernacles here. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." And when he was still speaking, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." And when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground and were terrified. Okay, so systematically, let's go through this thing. 6 days later, Jesus took some of those who were standing there with him, namely Peter, James, and John. They went upon a mountain and saw Jesus transfigured just as he will be in the kingdom. In the book of Revelation, in his glorified state, his face shines like the sun. His feet are like bronze, burnished bronze coming out of a fire, glowing. And here we see the same thing. His face is shining like the sun, etc., etc. Okay, well, that's just one point. But then we see this. We see Moses and Elijah. And I dare say that Moses and Elijah are indeed symbolic of the kingdom. Every kingdom has a king, and it has its laws, and it has its subjects. And what sort of subjects compose the citizenry of God's kingdom? Well, we're told. We are told in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 and 17, we read this: "For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first." And the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain, will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore comfort one another with these words. So here we see that the kingdom, and this is Christ returning, this is Christ coming to establish his rule, to establish his rule and reign upon the earth, and we see two groups of people: those who die in the Lord, die as believers, and those who are alive when the Lord returns. Well, isn't it interesting that Elijah was caught up in a chariot of fire while he was yet alive? Totally and completely, perfectly. It's as if the Spirit is emphatically declaring to us that this is the answer to the quandary of whether or not some of those who are standing there would see him in his kingdom. Elijah is a picture of those who are alive and remain and are caught up to meet the Lord in the air while they're still living. Moses, however, is someone who died before he reached the promised land. He died in the Lord. Oh, and to me, it's perfectly tying together. Okay, so 2 out of 3. But what about the third point? Peter. Like a puppy wagging its tail before its master. It's good for us to be here. Let's build a tabernacle. Why would he say that? Why is that thrown in there? It doesn't make any sense. Is he saying, well, let's just camp out? Let's camp out. I like things up here, Lord. You're looking quite fancy. And hey, Moses and Elijah, that's an interesting, sort of thing going on there. I think we ought to really set up camp, Lord. I really do. I like things here. I do. Is that what he's saying? No, he's not saying that. If we go to Zechariah, the book of Zechariah, we read this in the book of Zechariah, chapter 14. And the context of this passage is all about the millennial reign, when Christ is reigning on earth. And he says this. This is what Zechariah the prophet has said. "Then it will come about that any who are left of all the nations that went against Jerusalem will go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. And it will be that whichever of the families of the earth does not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, there will be no rain on them. If the family of Egypt does not go up or enter, then no rain will fall on them. It will be the plague with which the Lord smites the nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles." And Peter knew that he was going to live in the blessing of God. He wasn't trying to be plagued. He was trying to... He was hitting the bullseye. He was right on the money. He knew what to do. He thought, the kingdom of heaven is here. The millennial reign. This is it. I don't know what happened. We were walking up this hill, but all of a sudden, I don't know what the deal is, but it's here, and let's celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles right now. Let's do this. Let's set up. Let's just get ready. Let's do this. That's what he was saying. He thought the kingdom had come. So if Peter is speaking this way, dovetailing perfectly with the prophecy of Zechariah, and if Moses and Elijah are perfect pictures of those who are dead in Christ and those who are alive and remain at his coming, and if Jesus Christ himself is glorified and his face was shining like the sun, we have 3 witnesses to the truth. what more do we need? What more proof do we need? That those people who say Jesus lied, we don't need any more proof to prove that those people who say that Jesus' prophecy failed, well, that they fail. They fail at understanding Jesus' prophecy. They completely fail. And you ought not to trust those people, because they're ever learning, but they're unable to come to the knowledge of the truth. So, may God grant you the grace to live out your days in truth and to not follow everyone who twists this book to their own destruction. Thank you for listening. Bye.